All right, get ready, because today we're going deep on some seriously strange stuff.
Definitely outside the box.
We're talking about a text called On the Origin of the World
That's right.
from the Nag Hammadi Library.
A whole collection of Gnostic writings discovered in Egypt.
Back in the 1940s.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever heard of Gnosticism?
It was this really mystical, early Christian movement.
With some pretty unique beliefs.
Yeah, shall we say a little outside the box.
This text throws out the traditional creation story you might be used to and gives us...
A completely different take on creation.
Yeah, think less Genesis, more like...
Cosmic soap opera, honestly.
So we've got...
Shadowy figures.
Giving birth to chaos, a lion-faced god who thinks he's the only one who exists, and even a phoenix tied to the judgment of evildoers.
It's wild.
Okay, so set the stage for us.
This text basically claims that chaos wasn't the beginning.
Really?
Something existed before it, contrary to popular belief.
Even among gods and humans?
Even among gods and humans.
Wow, okay, so what came before chaos?
Well, that's where we meet this figure called Priestess Sophia.
Okay.
She emanates from the infinite and kind of sets the wheels in motion.
Yeah.
She gives rise to other beings,
So she's like the...
including another Sophia,
Oh, there's two.
a flawed one this time, who ends up being the source of all this chaos.
Oh, okay, this is already more complex than your average creation myth.
Oh, yeah.
But why is Sophia so important?
Well, she's the central figure.
Yeah.
She's always striving for good,
Okay.
even when she makes mistakes.
So how does chaos actually happen?
Well, get ready for some seriously vivid imagery.
Okay.
It all begins with a shadow,
Okay.
born from Sophia's first creation,
Uh-huh.
who feels this overwhelming envy
Right.
and gives birth to jealousy.
Okay.
And get this, that jealousy turns into a spiritless abortion in water.
A what?
Yeah, a spiritless abortion.
Wow. Okay, that's definitely not in the book of Genesis.
No, it's not.
And what about this lion-faced god?
Yeah, yes. Yaldabaoth.
He sounds intense.
He emerges from this primordial chaos,
Right.
utterly convinced that he's the only god in existence.
So he's got a god complex.
Oh, yeah, a major...
The text calls him Samalohel,
Right? Right, which means blind god.
really emphasizing his...
Arrogance and ignorance.
Okay, so how powerful is this guy?
Well, he creates everything you can think of.
Like what?
Heaven's angels, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
And here's the kicker. He does it all just by speaking.
Really?
Literally coos things into existence.
Incredible.
Yeah, like a child playing make-believe.
But with higher stakes.
Much higher stakes.
So creation is like a cosmic lullaby.
Well, the text specifically says he coos to his sons.
Oh, sorry, his sons.
He does bringing them into being.
What are their names?
Well, they have unusual names like Yao, Eloi, and Astaphios.
Okay, so we've got this lion-faced god with a god complex creating everything and has sons.
That's right.
This is getting complicated.
It is, but it wouldn't be a creation story without a little family drama.
Oh, here we go.
Enter Sabaoth, Yaldabaoth's son,
Okay.
who stages a full-blown revolt against dear old dad.
The classic father-son conflict.
Right.
But Sabaoth doesn't go it alone, does he?
He does not. Sophia, remember,
Yeah.
sends her daughter Zoe to guide him.
Oh, so she's still in the picture.
She is, and Zoe isn't coming empty-handed.
But what does she bring?
A magnificent mansion for Sabaoth,
Wow, okay.
complete with a chariot and a throne.
This sounds less like a creation story and more like a reality TV show.
Well, the details are incredible.
Like what?
Imagine a cherubim chariot with 64 forms,
64.
64,
Okay.
seraphim angels, and the text even mentions the creation of beings called Israel and Jesus Christ.
Wait a minute. Jesus Christ is in this text.
He is.
But this is a Gnostic text, and they didn't really see Jesus the same way as mainstream Christianity, did they?
That's right.
So what's going on here?
It's all about challenging conventional narratives.
Okay, so just when you think you've got a handle on this bizarre cosmology,
Yeah,
the text throws another curveball.
it does. What isn't another god?
Not quite another Adam.
Another Adam.
This one is called Adam of Light.
Okay. A radiant being who causes all sorts of trouble for Yaldabaoth and the other rulers.
So we've got a rebellion within the ranks of the gods, and now a new Adam is shaking things up.
It's getting pretty dramatic.
What do the rulers do about this new Adam?
They're furious.
Yeah, I bet.
They see Adam of Light as a direct threat to their authority, and they decide to create their own Adam in response.
It's like a cosmic game of one-upmanship.
It is.
So how do they go about creating their own Adam?
They model him after their own bodies, but make him in the likeness of Adam of Light.
Okay.
And to make things even more complicated, Sophia sends Zoe, who's now called Eve, to awaken him.
Wait, so Zoe is now Eve This is getting tricky to keep track of.
I know, right?
And how do they awaken Adam?
The text gets a little cryptic here.
Okay.
It mentions hermaphrodites.
Hermaphrodites.
And presents Eve as the first virgin who gives birth to her own child.
Okay.
It's a pretty fascinating exploration of gender and creation in this Gnostic worldview.
Hermaphrodites and a virgin birth. Okay, this is definitely where things start to veer away from traditional Christianity.
For sure.
And what's the deal with this instructor character?
The instructor, also called the beast,
Yeah.
encourages Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge.
Isn't that supposed to be bad?
Well, in the traditional story, yes.
Right.
But remember, this is Gnosticism.
Right.
It's all about challenging those interpretations.
So in this text, knowledge is a good thing,
It's seen as liberating,
even if it comes with consequences.
even if it comes with consequences.
Okay, so what happens when Adam and Eve eat from the tree of knowledge?
Well, just like in the Genesis account, they become aware of their nakedness
Okay.
and their love for each other, but they also realize the true beastly nature of their creators.
It's like the rulers accidentally gave them the key to enlightenment.
It's a tragic irony.
So by trying to keep humanity in the dark, the rulers accidentally sparked our awakening.
Exactly.
But what about the classic curse and expulsion from paradise?
Oh, that's in there too. The rulers are enraged by Adam and Eve's transgression,
Of course.
and they bring pain, weakness, and all sorts of evil distractions into the world.
This text is really something else.
It's a wild ride.
So we've got creation, rebellion, enlightenment, punishment. It's like a cosmic drama unfolding before our eyes.
It is.
And wait, there's also something about a phoenix in all this, right?
Ah, yes, the phoenix.
What's its role in all of this?
This mythical creature symbolizes resurrection
Okay.
and judgment against the ruler's wickedness.
So it's a symbol of hope amidst all the chaos and darkness.
Exactly.
Even when things seem bleak, there's always the possibility of renewal and transformation.
That's the idea.
I love that. And speaking of cycles, the text also mentions the concept of fate and a fixed lifespan of 1,000 years for humans.
It does.
But there's a twist, right?
There is.
The rulers in their anger managed to shave off 70 years from our lifespans.
That's right.
Wow. It's just cold. Even with a predetermined lifespan, they can't resist messing with us a little more.
It seems
But if our lifespans are predetermined, what does that say about free will?
that's a question that has puzzled philosophers and theologians for ages.
I bet.
It seems like there's this complex interplay between destiny and choice.
So even within this seemingly deterministic system, we still have the power to shape our own stories.
Oh, we do?
That's actually pretty reassuring.
It is.
But what about the rulers? Do they get away with their wickedness? What ultimately happens to them?
They don't get away with it, not entirely.
Oh.
Sophia, remember?
Yeah.
She's still the key player here,
Right.
and she's fueled by righteous anger at this point.
Okay.
The text describes her exacting revenge on the rulers, casting them down from their heavens.
It's like the ultimate showdown, good versus evil, light versus darkness.
Exactly. The heavens collapse, there are earthquakes and warring kings, and ultimately light triumphs over darkness.
Wow. This origin of the world is anything but your typical creation story.
It's definitely unique.
It's complex, challenging, and full of surprises.
And believe it or not, we've only just scratched the surface.
I can't wait to dive deeper, but first, let's take a moment to digest all this mind-blowing information.
Agreed.
What do you say we take a little break and then come back to explore the deeper meanings and implications of this incredible Gnostic text?
Sounds like a plan. There's much more to uncover.
Okay, so we just went through this whirlwind of cosmic creation, rebellion, divine drama. It's a lot.
It is.
But as wild as this Gnostic origin story is, I have a feeling there's more to it than just a good yarn.
You're absolutely right. This isn't just some fantastical tale.
Right.
It's packed with symbolism
Okay.
and social commentary that can really make you question the very fabric of reality.
Even today?
Even today.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does a text about shadowy beings and lion-faced gods tie into social commentary?
Remember how the rulers...
Those flawed and often malicious deities?
Yes, they created humanity and then went to great lengths to keep us ignorant.
Right.
They used fear, deception, even violence to maintain their power.
So it's like they're this cosmic ruling class exploiting humanity for their own benefit. And you're saying this reflects social dynamics that exist even in our world today.
Precisely. Think about it. Those in positions of authority, governments, institutions, even individuals.
Right.
They sometimes perpetuate systems of control
Okay.
and keep people in the dark to maintain their power.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. So this ancient Gnostic text is actually a critique of power structures,
Absolutely.
both cosmic and earthly.
Both cosmic and earthly.
But here's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
On the origin of the world doesn't just criticize the powerful.
Right.
It also offers a glimmer of hope, a way to break free from those chains of ignorance and manipulation.
It does.
Okay, now I'm really hooked. What's the Gnostic solution to this cosmic oppression?
Through gnosis, of course.
Gnosis.
Remember.
Yeah.
But remember how Adam and Eve gained enlightenment by eating from the tree of knowledge.
Yes, defying the ruler's explicit orders.
Exactly. That's the key message here.
Yeah.
True freedom comes from understanding the true nature of reality.
And our place within it.
And our place within it, gnosis, is the path to liberation.
So it's not just about rebelling against earthly authority figures.
Yeah.
It's about rebelling against the limitations of our own minds.
Right.
The things that keep us trapped in cycles of ignorance and fear.
Exactly. It's about transcending the material world
Okay.
and connecting with that spark of divinity within us.
The source of true knowledge and enlightenment.
The source of true knowledge and enlightenment. It's a call to think for yourself,
To question everything.
to question everything, and to break free from the mental chains that bind you.
That's incredibly powerful, but in a world overflowing with information, misinformation, and constant distractions, finding that true liberating knowledge feels more challenging than ever.
It does. It's a challenge.
How do we even begin to navigate this complex landscape?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
While this text doesn't offer a step-by-step guide, it does provide some valuable clues.
Okay.
Think back to the role of the instructor, the one who guides Eve towards knowledge.
Right, the beast character. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one. How can a beast lead someone to enlightenment?
Well, the beast represents that catalyst for awakening,
Okay.
that force that shakes you out of complacency and makes you question everything you thought you knew.
So we need to seek out those challenging voices.
Yes.
The ones that make us uncomfortable.
The ones that make us
That
uncovered
force us to think critically.
and confront our own biases.
But it's not about blindly following any one teacher or guru.
Right.
It's about cultivating that spirit of inquiry within yourself.
Exactly.
That constant hunger for new perspectives.
Yes.
And the courage to challenge your own beliefs.
The courage to challenge your own beliefs.
So gnosis isn't a destination.
Wow.
It's a journey.
It's a journey.
A lifelong pursuit of knowledge and self-discovery that actually takes a lot of pressure off. You know?
It does.
It's not about finding all the answers. It's
Right.
about asking the right questions.
Yes.
And being open to the possibilities.
And being open to the possibilities.
And speaking of possibilities, there's another fascinating aspect of this text that I think we should explore.
Yeah.
Remember how the rulers were absolutely terrified when they realized that Adam had gained knowledge?
Oh, yeah, they went into full-blown panic mode.
They were like, get this enlightened human out of paradise stat.
Right.
Why were they so threatened by Adam's newfound awareness?
Well, the text seems to suggest that knowledge itself is the true threat to any kind of oppressive power.
Interesting.
Once you become aware of the illusions and deceptions that keep you enslaved, you can't be controlled so easily.
So it's not our physical strength or numbers that scare them,
No.
but our potential for knowledge and enlightenment. We
Exactly.
become a threat to those who want to keep us in the dark.
Precisely. And that's a message that holds true even today.
How so?
The ability to think critically, to question the status quo, to seek out information, and challenge narratives.
Right.
That's what makes us truly powerful.
It's like by trying to control us, the rulers inadvertently created their own worst enemy. The more they try to suppress knowledge, the more we crave it.
That's a great point. But the text doesn't let humanity completely off the hook either.
What do you mean?
It acknowledges our own complicity in this whole cosmic drama.
You mean like how Adam blames Eve for tempting him with the fruit, passing the buck cosmic style?
Exactly. And Eve, in turn, blames the instructor.
Right.
It highlights a very human tendency.
What's that?
We often participate in our own oppression,
Really?
whether consciously or unconsciously.
Interesting.
We accept the lies, we follow the rules, and we silence our own doubts.
Because it's easier than facing the truth.
It's easier than facing the truth.
So it's not enough to just point fingers at the rulers, the powers that be.
No.
We also have to look inward and take responsibility for our own actions.
Yes.
For the choices we make that perpetuate those systems of control.
Absolutely. True liberation requires a shift in consciousness, a willingness to see our own role in the bigger picture.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose differently, to break free from those patterns of thought and behavior that keep us trapped.
Exactly.
It's a challenging message, for sure. It's much easier to blame external forces than to confront our own shortcomings.
It is, but it's also incredibly empowering.
Okay.
The text is saying, yes, there are powerful forces that want to keep you in the dark,
Right.
but you are not powerless. You have the capacity for knowledge, for self-awareness, for change.
And ultimately, that's where our freedom lies.
That's where your freedom lies.
I love that it's a reminder that we always have a choice, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges.
You're getting it. And speaking of challenges, let's dive into one of the most perplexing aspects of this text.
Okay, what's that?
All that incredible detail describing the different realms and beings that populate this Gnostic cosmos.
Right, it's like reading a cosmic travelogue with descriptions of heavens, chariots, angels, and all sorts of strange and wonderful creatures.
It's a lot to take in.
But are those details just there to make the story more entertaining, or is there a deeper meaning behind all those fantastical elements?
There's definitely a deeper meaning. The text uses symbolism to add layers of meaning to the narrative.
I see.
Each element, from the cherub and chariot with its 64 forms to the phoenix rising from the ashes, has symbolic significance.
Okay, so let's unpack some of that symbolism. What about that chariot with its 64 forms? What does that represent?
Well, the number 64 shows up in various ancient mystical traditions.
Okay.
In the I Ching, for example, it represents the totality of possible combinations of yin and yang.
Those fundamental forces of the universe.
Those fundamental forces of the universe. So the chariot could symbolize cosmic harmony, the interconnectedness of all things.
It's like a metaphor for how everything in the universe is woven together.
Right.
How even the smallest actions can have ripple effects.
Exactly. And then you have the phoenix, that classic image of death and rebirth.
Right.
In many cultures, it represents resurrection, transformation, and the cyclical nature of life.
And in the context of this Gnostic text, what do you think the phoenix is trying to tell us?
I think it represents the eventual triumph of good over evil. The idea that even in the face of death and destruction, hope and renewal are always possible.
So even though the text is full of darkness and oppression, there's also this undercurrent of hope, this sense that light will eventually prevail.
Absolutely. And the fact that there are 3 types of phoenixes, each with a different lifespan, adds another layer of complexity.
3 types of phoenixes. Okay. I'm intrigued. What's the significance of that?
It could be a reference to the Gnostic concept of 3 realms of existence: the spiritual, the psychic, and the material.
Okay.
Each phoenix might represent a different level of spiritual evolution,
I see.
or a different stage in the soul's journey.
So even a mythical creature like the phoenix is woven into this complex tapestry of Gnostic thought. It's amazing how much meaning is packed into every detail. But I have to admit, I'm still struggling with this whole idea of fate and the predetermined lifespan of 1,000 years. It seems to contradict the message of free will and the power to choose our own paths.
It's a tricky concept, no doubt.
Yeah.
But remember how the rulers tried to shorten Adam and Eve's lifespans out of spite?
Right?
They were only able to shave off a tiny fraction of that time.
Right.
It's like they're bound by some higher cosmic law that even they can't completely override.
So it's not like our lives are completely predetermined, like a script that we're forced to follow.
Right.
There's still room for free will for making choices that affect the course of our lives.
Exactly. It's like we have this set amount of time, this framework within which we operate.
Okay.
But how we navigate that time, the choices we make, the connections we forge, the impact we have on the world.
That's all up to us.
That's all up to us.
It's a delicate balance between destiny and choice.
It is.
We can't control everything.
Right.
But we're not completely powerless either.
Exactly. And the rulers, despite their power, can only interfere so much.
Right.
They can try to manipulate us to keep us in the dark, but they can't ultimately control our destinies.
It's almost like they've given us this incredible gift, the power to choose.
Yeah.
Even though they resent us for having it.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. And it brings us back to that central theme of knowledge as liberation.
Right.
The more we understand about ourselves and the world around us, the less control those external forces have over us.
Knowledge really is power. And this text, with all its complexities and challenges, is ultimately a call to embrace that power.
Yeah.
To never stop seeking and questioning.
You're getting it. And, as we've been talking about all this, I've been struck by how this isn't just a cosmic creation myth.
Okay.
It's also a deeply personal story about the human experience.
What do you mean?
Well, think about the themes we've been discussing. The desire for knowledge, the struggle against oppression, the search for meaning and purpose.
Okay.
These are universal human experiences, regardless of your spiritual beliefs or background.
You're right. We all grapple with these questions. At some point in our lives, we all feel that yearning for something more, that sense that there's more to reality than what we can see and touch.
Exactly. And this text, in its own unique way, offers a framework for understanding those experiences, a way to make sense of the chaos and complexity of life.
It's like a cosmic mirror reflecting back to us those deep-seated human longings and fears.
It is.
And it's encouraging us to face them head on, to embrace the mystery and wonder of existence, and to keep seeking that liberating knowledge that sets us free.
Beautifully put. And speaking of mirrors, there's another fascinating aspect of this text that I think we should explore.
What's that?
The concept of duality on the origin of the world is full of contrasting pairs, light and darkness, good and evil, knowledge and ignorance, spirit and matter.
It's like the whole cosmos is built on these opposing forces, but is this duality inherent in the nature of reality, or is it a construct, a way of understanding the world that we've imposed upon it?
That's the question. Isn't it? It's a question that has puzzled philosophers and mystics for centuries.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a simple answer.
Right.
But I think exploring these dualities, examining how they play out in our own lives and in the world around us, can lead to some pretty profound insights.
Okay, I'm game. Let's take a closer look at some of these dualities and see what we can uncover.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so we've been going deep on this Gnostic text on the origin of the world.
It's a wild one.
It is. We've talked about rebellious gods, the power of knowledge, even the concept of duality.
Lots to unpack.
Where do we go from here?
Well, one duality that I think is really important is light and darkness.
Okay.
Remember how the text portrays light as a symbol of knowledge, truth, and liberation?
Yeah.
While darkness represents ignorance, deception, and enslavement.
It's like those classic battles between good and evil, but on a cosmic scale.
Exactly. And just like those epic battles, we have a choice in which side we support.
So we can embrace the light-seek knowledge, fight for enlightenment.
Or we can remain trapped in the shadows.
Of ignorance and manipulation.
It's
a powerful image. But choosing the path of light can feel daunting, especially when we're surrounded by so much darkness in the world.
I hear you.
How can we as individuals make a real difference?
That's where individual enlightenment comes in. The text seems to suggest that every act of seeking knowledge, every time we challenge a limiting belief or break free from a cycle of ignorance, we're contributing to a larger shift in consciousness.
So it's not just about personal growth.
No.
It's about contributing to a collective awakening.
That's the idea.
That's actually pretty inspiring.
It is.
But what about the duality of good and evil?
Right.
Your text seems to present a pretty black and white view of that.
Well, I wouldn't say it's that simple.
Okay.
Remember, the text also acknowledges that humans are capable of great cruelty and darkness.
That's true.
In fact, the rulers themselves are said to be born from human emotions, from jealousy and envy.
So it's not about dividing the world into good guys and bad guys. It's more about recognizing the potential for both light and darkness within each of us.
Exactly, and that's where gnosis is so crucial.
Okay.
By attaining knowledge, by seeing through the illusions that cloud our judgment, we can cultivate the good within ourselves and choose to act from a place of love, compassion, and understanding.
So gnosis isn't just about accumulating information or mastering esoteric teachings.
Yeah.
It's about a transformation of consciousness.
It is.
A shift in perspective that allows us to see the world and ourselves more clearly.
You got it. And that brings us to another fundamental duality that's woven throughout this text.
What's that?
The duality of spirit and matter. Remember how we talked about the idea that the material world is a kind of cosmic accident?
Yeah.
A byproduct of flawed creation?
Yeah, that whole spiritless abortion and water thing was a bit intense.
It was a striking image.
It was.
Yeah.
But you're saying it points to a deeper truth about the nature of reality.
The text seems to suggest that the material world, the world we experience with our senses, is just a temporary dwelling place for our true essence, which is spiritual.
So we're like sparks of divine light trapped in these material bodies yearning to return to our source.
That's the idea.
So it's not that the material world is inherently evil, but that it's a kind of illusion, a veil, that separates us from our true spiritual nature.
Exactly. And the goal of gnosis is to pierce that veil.
To transcend the limitations of the material world.
And reunite with that divine spark within.
It's like waking up from a dream. Suddenly you see the world in a whole new light and you realize that there's so much more to reality than what you previously perceived.
That's a great analogy. And the text emphasizes that knowledge and enlightenment are the keys to this awakening.
Okay.
By understanding the true nature of reality, by seeing through the deceptions and illusions that bind us, we can break free from that sense of separation and experience true unity with the divine.
It's a beautiful concept. But if we're all essentially divine beings, why do we experience so much suffering and darkness in this world? Why do we forget our true nature in the first place?
That's one of the great mysteries.
Yeah.
But perhaps the text is suggesting that this forgetting is part of the human experience, that it's through our struggles and challenges that we ultimately learn and grow.
So even the darkness serves a purpose.
Right.
It's a catalyst for awakening, a reminder of our true potential and our yearning for something more.
Exactly. And that's what makes this ancient Gnostic text so relevant even today.
It
It
does.
speaks to that universal human longing for meaning, for connection, for liberation.
You know, as we've been discussing all these different aspects of on the origin of the world, I keep coming back to the question of gender.
Okay.
The text seems to play with these archetypal feminine and masculine energies in really interesting ways.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's a fascinating aspect of the text that deserves more attention. You have Pistis Sophia, the divine feminine principle, who
Yeah.
represents wisdom and creation.
Right.
But then you also have the flawed Sophia, who's associated with chaos and the material world.
And then you have Yaldabaoth, that lion-faced ruler who's all about control and dominance, a very masculine energy, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. He's constantly trying to impose his will on creation to keep everything and everyone under his thumb.
So it's like there's this dynamic tension between these feminine and masculine principles.
Yes.
Between wisdom and power, between creation and control.
And it's a tension that plays out throughout the text as these different forces interact and clash. Think about the story of Adam and Eve, for example.
Okay.
Eve is portrayed as the one who brings knowledge into the world, despite the ruler's attempts to keep humanity ignorant. She challenges the established order, she breaks the rules, and in doing so, she sets humanity on the path to enlightenment.
It's almost like she represents that liberating feminine energy that disrupts the status quo and opens up new possibilities.
Well, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, what is the text ultimately saying about the relationship between these feminine and masculine energies? Is it about one being superior to the other? Or is there a deeper message about balance and integration?
I don't think there's a simple answer. But perhaps the text is suggesting that both the feminine and the masculine are essential for wholeness, for creating a world that's both wise and powerful, compassionate and just.
I like that. It's not about suppressing one or the other, but about finding a way to harmonize these seemingly opposing forces, both within ourselves and within society as a whole.
It's amazing to think that this text, hidden away for centuries, contains so many layers of meaning and insight. It makes you wonder, why was it suppressed for so long? What made it so threatening to those in power?
Well, for one thing, it challenges the traditional Christian narrative in some pretty fundamental ways.
Right.
Its depiction of creation of God, of the nature of good and evil, is radically different from the Orthodox view.
And its emphasis on gnosis, on individual enlightenment, and seeking knowledge outside the confines of religious dogma would have been seen as a direct threat to the authority of the Church.
Exactly. The Church Fathers, who were busy consolidating their power and establishing a unified doctrine, saw these alternative interpretations as dangerous and heretical.
So they sought to suppress them, to bury them in the sands of time.
They did. It's a classic case of those in power trying to control information and silence dissenting voices.
But the fact that these texts have survived, that they were rediscovered and are now available to us, is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to seek truth no matter the obstacles.
It is. It's like a hidden treasure that's been unearthed, offering us a glimpse into a world of alternative spirituality and a different way of understanding our place in the cosmos.
And it reminds us that there have always been individuals and communities who questioned the status quo, who dared to seek knowledge beyond the confines of accepted beliefs.
That's right.
It's a call to remember that the search for truth is an ongoing process, a journey that requires courage, curiosity, and a willingness to challenge our own assumptions.
You know, there's a certain poetic justice in the fact that these texts, once hidden in darkness, are now illuminating our understanding of early Christianity and the evolution of human thought.
It's like they were buried seeds waiting for the right conditions to sprout and blossom. And now, thanks to the discovery of the Nag Hammadi library and the dedication of scholars who have translated and interpreted these texts, we're witnessing that blossoming.
It's an exciting time to be exploring these alternative perspectives on spirituality and the nature of reality.
Absolutely. And On the origin of the world with its complex cosmology, challenging themes, and enduring message of hope and liberation is a particularly rich and rewarding journey for those willing to embark on it.
So, to our listener, if you've been captivated by this deep dive into Gnostic thought, I encourage you to explore further. There's a whole world of fascinating texts and teachings out there waiting to be discovered.
Who knows what insights and revelations await you on your own journey of seeking?
Perhaps you'll even find your own path to gnosis, your own way of illuminating the darkness and embracing the light.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.